God created us with a specific purpose, just as an inventor designs a machine to operate best with the right fuel. We, as the chosen ones, were designed to live in communion with God, for He is the source of our strength, joy, and peace. Just as a car cannot run on the wrong fuel, our souls cannot thrive away from God's presence. He is the spiritual nourishment we depend on, and outside of His presence, there is no true happiness or peace. We cannot seek satisfaction away from God, because it simply does not exist outside of Him. On our journeys as the chosen, there will be times when life becomes difficult and challenging. We all go through periods of exhaustion, when it feels like our strength is running out, and there is no more hope. In these moments, it is vital to remember that you are never alone. God sees every tear you shed, hears every silent prayer, and knows the depths of your heart. As a chosen one, you have a special connection with the divine, and He is always by your side, especially when you feel most vulnerable. God's invitation to you is clear. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. He is ready to carry your burdens and ease your heart. When we are in the midst of our spiritual struggles, it can be difficult to see God's light. When the weight of challenges seems unbearable, the temptation to lose faith can be strong. However, it is important that you, as the chosen one, remain steadfast and remember that God sees your pain and hears your cries. Even if the path seems dark, God's promise for your life will prevail. He acts in perfect time, and even if you don't see the answers now, have faith that He is working. As a chosen one, you are called to wait with patience and trust in the divine purpose. The Lord is good to those whose hope is in Him, to the one who seeks Him. It is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. As a chosen one, know that God is present in every moment of your life, including the silent periods. Sometimes, when it seems like the answers aren't coming, it can be easy to question God's plan and feel forgotten. But remember that God knows everything you are going through. Even when your heart condemns you, or when you feel there is no way out, God is greater than your feelings and thoughts. He knows your future and knows exactly when to act in your life. He is the God who sees you, who knows you deeply, and is faithful in fulfilling His promises. Waiting on God is one of the greatest challenges, but it is also one of the greatest lessons of faith. As a chosen one, you are called to persevere and trust, even when the road seems long and God's answer seems delayed. We know that God's timing is perfect, and that He never lets anything happen outside of His sovereign plan. When you feel impatient or tired of waiting, remember that patience is one of the virtues that shape your character as a chosen one. Call to me, and I will answer you, and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know. God is always ready to hear your prayers and bring revelations beyond what you can imagine. While you wait for an answer or the fulfillment of a promise, it may seem like nothing is happening. But know that, even in silence, God is working behind the scenes. He is adjusting details, preparing hearts, moving circumstances, and aligning everything according to His perfect will. Don't lose hope because you were chosen to trust God in a deep and unique way. He will never leave you forsaken. Just keep trusting, for God, in His time, will bring the blessings He has already prepared for your life. Remember the story of Joseph, who faced betrayal, injustice, and imprisonment before seeing God's plan come to fruition in his life. Joseph was chosen for a great mission, but he had to go through years of preparation, while God organized every detail of his destiny. Joseph said to his brothers, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." In the same way, God can use the waiting times and even difficulties to bring good into your life. As a chosen one, you can trust that, Even in the hardest situations, God is working for your good and to fulfill His purpose. Today, I invite you to reflect on the importance of waiting on God. As a chosen one, your mission includes trusting in the divine timing and understanding that every stage of your life is being guided by the Creator. Open your heart and mind to understand the deep principles of patience and faith, and remember that even when everything seems still, God is acting on your behalf. Principle 1. God's delays are not God's denials. Often, when you are waiting for an answer to a prayer, it may seem that God is silent or distant. However, this does not mean that He has abandoned you or that your pleas have been ignored. In reality, the waiting times are moments when God is working, shaping your life in ways you may not yet perceive. When you finally receive the answer, it will be something much better than you expected or completely different from what you imagined. Waiting is not the end of the road, but the beginning of a process that God is leading to take you to the purpose He has reserved. We live in a world that values instant gratification, where everything seems to need to happen quickly. Whether in technology, relationships, or work, we are used to getting results almost immediately. In this rush, waiting is seen as a waste of time, something that makes us question whether we are on the right path. However, for a chosen one, this perception must be transformed. God works in a way that does not fit the world's immediate logic. He uses waiting as a time of preparation and refinement. The periods of apparent divine silence are, in fact, moments when He is strengthening your faith, shaping your character, and preparing something that goes beyond what your eyes can see. The greatest challenge often is resisting the temptation to try to control the situation yourself. When the answer takes time, we are tempted to take the reins, to do it our way. However, the Bible teaches us to trust in the Lord and not lean on our own understanding, for trying to force God's answer can result in frustration and disappointment. In Jeremiah 29:11, God reminds us, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." This shows us that He has a much greater plan for our lives, and that plan is always for our good, even when we do not understand the delays. Patience, for the chosen ones, is not just a passive virtue, but an active practice of faith. Waiting on God requires resilience, perseverance, and trust in the fact that He is working, even when you cannot immediately see the results. Think of the farmer who plants his seeds. He doesn't see the growth immediately, but trusts that, in due time, the harvest will come. In the same way, your trust in God's plans must be like this. He is watering the seeds of your faith, preparing the soil so that, at the right time, you will harvest something much greater than you imagined. The story of Joseph is a perfect example of how God's delays are actually part of His plan. God gave Joseph dreams of greatness when he was just a young man, but before those dreams were realized, Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and spent years in prison. Anyone could have thought that God had forgotten Joseph. But during this time, God was shaping his character, preparing him for the great responsibility that would come. When God's time arrived, Joseph not only got out of prison, but was placed as governor of Egypt, a position he could never have imagined. God's delay was not a sign of rejection, but a phase of preparation for something much greater. Another clear example is that of Abraham and Sarah. God promised Abraham that he would be the father of many nations, but this promise seemed impossible, as both he and Sarah were old. Years passed, and it seemed that God was taking too long. Sarah even tried to solve the situation on her own by offering her servant Hagar to Abraham to bear a child. However, this human plan brought complications and frustration. showing that trying to hasten God's plans does not lead to success. In God's perfect timing, Sarah conceived Isaac, the child of the promise, and God's faithfulness was revealed in an even more powerful way. As a chosen one, you are called to trust that God's delays are shaping your life in a special way. The period of waiting is a time of learning, growth, and preparation. Waiting strengthens your faith, teaches you to depend completely on God, and helps you understand that His plans are always superior to yours. Psalm 37:7 teaches us, "Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him." This verse is a reminder that patience is not just about the passage of time, but about the rest you find in trusting that God is in control, even when everything around you seems still. Sometimes waiting can be painful. It may seem like time is running out, opportunities are passing by, or that answers will never come. But during these moments, God is working in your life in ways you cannot see. He is orchestrating every detail, adjusting every circumstance, so that at the right time, everything aligns with His purpose. As Isaiah 40:31 reminds us, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." Therefore, as a chosen one, your waiting is not in vain. God is refining your faith, shaping your character, and preparing something extraordinary for your life. Stay strong, don't give up, and know that God's delays are moments of preparation. God's promise for your life will be fulfilled in the perfect time, and when it happens, it will be far more glorious than you could ever imagine. Keep anchored in faith and trust that God is working on something beyond your current vision. Principle 2. Patience as a virtue. Every day, the life that God grants you is what truly holds value. There are times when it seems that God is taking too long to answer your prayers. You pray fervently for healing, for solutions, for changes, but you feel that He is silent. It's natural to feel discouraged, even to question if God has forgotten you, or if He heard your prayers. Know that God's apparent delays are not signs of indifference. On the contrary, they are opportunities for something much greater. These moments allow your faith to grow and prepare the ground for something extraordinary to happen. Just as Jesus did not immediately go to Lazarus, but used that time to demonstrate His power, God may be using this wait to manifest something great in your life. We live in a world that values speed and immediate satisfaction. We are used to having everything instantly, whether information, services, or results. However, God's time is different from ours, and He acts at the perfect moment, not according to our anxiety. Patience is not simply waiting. It is cultivating resilience, trust, and unwavering faith, even when situations seem to make no sense. As a chosen one, you are called to maintain hope, knowing that God is working for you behind the scenes. The Bible teaches us to be patient, like the farmer who waits for his harvest. He trusts that, in due time, the fruits will come. Similarly, you must trust that God's promises will be fulfilled at the perfect time. Patience is active. It is the decision to trust in God's faithfulness, even when the future is uncertain. For a chosen one, waiting is a spiritual preparation, a strengthening for what is to come. Recognizing that patience is difficult is part of the journey. It's challenging when we face barriers, when we feel that our prayers are not being answered, and when time seems to pass without anything changing. In these moments, doubt tries to creep in, and the temptation to hurry things is great. But trying to rush God's time only brings frustration. Instead, embrace patience, knowing that it shapes your faith, strengthens your character, and prepares you for future blessings. As Romans 5:3-4 says, suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. Patience is not passive. It transforms you. And as Romans 8:25 affirms, if we hope for what we do not yet have, we wait for it patiently. This wait is not in vain. God is using this time to prepare you and strengthen you for the blessings He has already planned. So, as a chosen one, keep your heart firm and your faith renewed. Trust that God is faithful to His promises and that in the perfect time, He will fulfill everything He has reserved for you. Principle 3. Have faith in the perfect timing of the divine. The future is uncertain and beyond our control, and that is where anxiety creeps in. However, this anxiety can be overcome by faith. It is important to remember that by trusting in God, we find peace, even when the future seems unclear. The scriptures teach us to let patience have its perfect work. Patience, contrary to what many believe, is not a passive attitude. It is developed during life's waiting moments. You may not see the results of your efforts immediately, but rest assured that while you wait, God is working deep changes within you. These periods strengthen your faith, molding you to face what is to come with greater wisdom and resilience. So do not be discouraged if things seem to be at a standstill, or if your plans are not moving forward as you expected. Remember, the longer the wait, the greater the blessing God is preparing for you. When the right time comes, when God acknowledges that you are ready, the fruits of your patience will be beyond what you could imagine. We all have dreams and desires that we long to fulfill, but when the fulfillment of these promises seems delayed, it is natural to feel restless and even question when they will come to pass. However, delay does not always mean that God is not acting. Sometimes it is because we are not yet ready for what He has reserved. Although you may feel ready, if you could see God's full plan, you would realize that more growth and preparation are needed. Every stage of waiting is a time for you to evolve, mature, and gain the necessary experiences. Let us reflect on the story of Abraham and Sarah in Genesis 21. God promised Abraham that he would be the father of many nations, but he was 100 years old, and Sarah was 90 when they finally received the promise with the birth of Isaac. Imagine the patience required to wait for something so grand for so long. But in God's perfect time, the promise was fulfilled. Likewise, in our lives, we often pray for answers, for solutions, for blessings, and it seems that God's time is different from ours. Impatience and discouragement may arise, but it is in these moments that we must remember that the wait is a phase of preparation. Just as Abraham and Sarah faced challenges and uncertainties, God used that time to shape them and prepare them for the fulfillment of the promise. My dear chosen ones, let us root our hearts in full trust in God. Believe that He is faithful to His word, that He is working behind the scenes, aligning everything according to His perfect plan. Wait with faith and expectation, knowing that at the right time, He will fulfill His promises for your life. During this waiting season, develop an attitude of gratitude and praise, recognizing God's goodness, love, and sovereignty. As Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." This verse encourages us to trust and submit to God's plans, knowing that He is in control. Our faith must remain firm, even when the answers seem distant. A faith that recognizes that God's ways and timing are greater and more perfect than ours. Remember, God's time is always exact, and His faithfulness never fails. Principle 4. Find peace in God's timing. The more expectations you have about life, the more often you will feel hurt and frustrated. However, when you, as a chosen one, humbly accept God's timing, true peace begins to fill your heart, bringing calmness and serenity. As written in Isaiah 30:15, "In repentance and rest is your salvation. In quietness and trust is your strength." This verse reminds us of the importance of silencing the heart and mind, taking a pause amidst uncertainties to recognize God's presence and wisdom. By accepting this stillness, you discover a peace that shields your spirit from fear and doubt, allowing you to fully trust in His plans. Discovering serenity in God's timing also means appreciating the process of waiting. Instead of viewing waiting as frustration or delay, see it as an opportunity to reflect and strengthen your connection with the divine. For the chosen one, finding tranquility in God's timing involves surrendering control and trusting completely. It's about letting go of trying to dictate the outcomes and embracing the certainty that God's timing is always perfect, even if it does not align with our immediate expectations. In Jeremiah 17:7-8, we read, "Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in Him. They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream." This passage teaches us that peace does not come from having all the answers or control, but from placing our full trust in God, knowing that He takes care of every detail of our journey. In a world full of uncertainties and turmoil, resting in God's timing may seem challenging. The temptation to take control or worry about the future may arise. But as a chosen one, you are called to trust that God is in control and to hand your anxieties over to Him. By doing so, your faith is renewed, and your heart is prepared to receive the blessings that are already reserved for you at the right time. Principle 5. Trust in the supreme plan of the divine. Think of yourself as a living house. God comes in to renovate this house. At first, maybe it makes sense what He is doing. He's fixing the leaks, repairing the pipes, addressing issues you already knew needed repair, so nothing seems strange. But then suddenly, He begins to meddle in areas in a painful way that you don't understand. What is He doing? In fact, He is building something far greater than you imagined, adding new wings, constructing extra floors, raising towers and courtyards. You expected a neat little cottage, but He is preparing a palace, where He Himself intends to dwell. The book of Proverbs reminds us that, although we may have many plans in our minds, it is God's purpose that prevails. We may create our own ideas and projects, but in the end, the divine plan is what comes to pass. In times of waiting and uncertainty, it is common to question what God is doing. We may wonder why certain things happen or why our prayers seem unanswered. But it is in these moments that we must remember that God's thoughts and ways are much higher and deeper than ours. We may not always be able to comprehend God's plans, but we can be sure that He is directing everything for our good. Trusting in God's sovereignty also means having faith in His perfect timing. This involves acknowledging and surrendering control of everything into His hands. In a world of uncertainties and turmoil, placing our trust in God brings a profound peace and renewed strength. As it is written in Isaiah 46:10, "My counsel shall stand, and I will accomplish all my purpose." This verse reminds us that God is in charge, even when circumstances seem out of control. His plans are greater, and His purposes will always be fulfilled. Trusting in God means surrendering our desires and wills to Him, recognizing that He knows what is best for us, even when we cannot fully understand. And as Jeremiah 29:11 tells us, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." This reminds us that God's timing is perfect, even if it doesn't match ours. We may become impatient and exhausted while waiting, but we must trust that He is faithful, and His promises always come true at the right time. Putting our trust in God means recognizing that He controls everything and is working for our good, even when we cannot see the full picture. In James 1:12, we read, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." Dear friends, take a moment to quiet yourselves and listen to God's voice in your hearts. There you will find security. He is saying, "I see your struggles. I hear your prayers. Trust in me, and I will give you the strength to carry on. Stay strong, for the new dawn is near. Your perseverance will result in victory, and your faith will be the light that guides you along the path." God knows that you, as a chosen one, carry heavy burdens, but He also sees the immense potential He has placed in you to accomplish great things. Do not be discouraged, for you are never alone. May the divine strength uplift your spirit and illuminate your path, guiding you through any challenge that may arise. If this message resonated with you, declare your trust by writing "God is always with me" in the comments. I declare that all the blessings of this prayer are upon your life, in Jesus' name. Thank you for being here today. If this video inspired your journey, like it and share it with those who also seek awakening. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to receive more messages of light and encouragement. Continue steadfast in faith, confident that God is working, even behind the scenes. Wait on Him, for He is faithful. Your pains will not last forever, and your cries will be heard. Trust in the divine plan, for He is preparing a future of hope and fulfillment for you as a chosen one. God sees your struggles and hears your cries. Persevere, for His promises are true, and His love for you, the chosen one, is eternal.